Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Twin Talks Ballet. If you're new, my name is Kirsten. I'm a former professional dancer, now turned mindset coach for ballet dancers, hopefully like yourself. And if you're new to Twin Talks Ballet, this YouTube channel, then I want you to know that really the aim of this channel is to help you flourish in your dancing, starting from the inside out. I'm all about helping you through common struggles that most dancers experience in their mindsets. And I know from experience how powerful it is to start changing your mind and how that has a huge effect on not only your ability to dance well, but the way you feel when you're dancing. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, what is all of that hard work for? So speaking of this subject, today I'm going to share with you 3 key principles that I share with my clients in my mindset coaching practice to help you overcome nervousness and anxiety around auditions so that you can perform your best. I don't know about you, but I know from my experience that when I've been extremely nervous and jittery and just terrified to go put myself out there, whether it was in an audition or in a performance, I never did my best. And I hated leaving those experiences feeling like I traveled to go put myself out there, or I'd worked so hard for that moment of being on stage, and I showed about 50 to 70% of what I know I'm capable of doing. So I don't want you guys to feel that way. So I'm going to just break down some really key principles that kind of dissect what is really going on and what key shifts you can make in your mind to actually dance to the fullest of your potential in these commonly seen as stressful situations. I want to thank okballet.com that sells Zerily tights for sponsoring this video. Zerily is one of my favorite brands of tights. I absolutely love that they bring the innovation of compression technology into the tights, reducing the inflammation in your legs while you dance, while you stand around in class or rehearsal all day, to help your legs actually feel better throughout the day while they actually look great while you're dancing. So to learn more of the specifics about Zerily tights, I recommend watching my thorough review video that I will link both here in the cards, but I will also link that video below. And additionally, in the description box, you'll find a link where you can purchase Zerily tights for yourself, and you will get a discount code to apply at checkout. So thank you again, okballet.com, for sponsoring this video. So here's the first thing I really want you to know before you go into what is commonly seen as a high pressure situation, like auditioning. Your learnings, things that you've learned to do, like dancing, for instance, or certain competencies that you might have, even certain memories that you might have, are accessed best in the mental state that they were learned in. Not only your mental state, but your physiological state. Before I talk more about what a mental state is, I want to tell you a little bit more about how the mind works in a way that really affects not only the way we feel, but also the way we see ourselves, the way we perceive ourselves, and even the thoughts we have and the beliefs we have. All of these things that actually determine not only our perspective, but our behaviors, our actions, and therefore our results. Essentially, reality that's going on all around us provides billions and billions and billions of bits of information that our brain can take in at any given moment in time. But as you probably know, the mind can only handle so much information at one time. And your mind can only be consciously aware of what's going on, like a very, very, very tiny percentage of what is actually going on around you. The human mind just doesn't have that much of a capability to fully embrace all the information. It has to simplify everything that's going on by generalizing the information, distorting it, and even deleting some of the information outright that it does not deem as helpful or applicable. So, how does your mind actually decide how to filter through the billions and billions and billions of bits of information to end up with only about 126 bits of information that ends up in your conscious awareness? It's your perspective. And your perspective is actually created over your lifetime through your sense of identity, your beliefs, your values, your behaviors, your mood, all sorts of things, your thoughts, even the time and location and condition that affects your physiology. All of this is constantly informing the filter through which you see the world. The filter through which you see the world creates an interpretation of the data all around you that then comes back into you and affects your mood, what you believe is possible, the way, again, that you feel about yourself, even your physiology, the way you're able to dance. So that's why perspective is so, so important. And you can actually program your mind to be filtering out positive information that serves you and makes you feel great and therefore helps you perform your best. So in this video, I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to do that. And by the way, that is also why receiving coaching on your mindset is actually so pivotal and crucial for actually fulfilling your potential and being able to do your best at anything you're setting your mind to. Because without training your mind and resetting that perspective, whatever makes it in that 126 bits of information, if left to having just a default filter, you might be constantly experiencing negative self-talk. You might be looking at the world around you and only seeing limitations, only bringing up things into your mind that scare you, making you feel incompetent, making you feel defeated whenever you're dancing, and even shutting down your ability to perform well just because your mental state is not that great. So if your default perspective in life is constantly bringing in information into your conscious awareness that's not helpful, that's not empowering, that's not positive, chances are you're just going to get more of the same results that are defined by similar adjectives, negative, disempowering, limiting, not great. So that's why training your perspective is so important, and it actually informs not only your actions, but your results, because as we know, results come from actions. Actions often come from your perspective. Let's go back to what a mental state really is and how it allows you to access specific learnings and competencies and memories that could be helpful to your performance. So your mental state is basically a combination of both your physiological state and also that perspective we're talking about, the way that you are interpreting the world around you. So your mental state is often perceived through also the way you feel in your body and the way you feel in your emotions. So here's a good example of how state-dependent learning and competencies work. Have you ever been in ballet class and your state is pretty relaxed? You feel more or less confident. You feel grounded and you're really just focused on your dancing and dancing your best. Whenever you get into an audition, have you ever totally freaked out and felt jittery and out of your body and just disoriented and then asked yourself, did I forget how to dance or what? Maybe you actually have, in part because when you get into the state that might be triggered by auditions based off of the story you're telling yourself around auditions beforehand, before you go, and then also the fact that you go and you haven't mentally prepared to be in a new environment around new dancers with people watching you, if you're not prepared for that, to actually access the learnings and the competencies that you have in your relaxed, grounded state and bring them into this new area or environment that you've put yourself in, you might actually have to overthink every step because they no longer become natural to you. You've lost that subconscious competency that you have when you are in the state that you've learned these movements in. And I hope you noticed that I mentioned the subconscious mind already. The subconscious mind is so important to recognize in our ability to dance because you don't consciously think of every single little muscle moving. You don't think consciously that much about, how to do every aspect of a plie. Maybe consciously, that you want to turn out your knees more when you plie, but are you thinking of the basics of how to do a plie, like in its fullness? Probably not, because consciously that would overwhelm you. Over the years and years you might have been dancing, in the hundreds or thousands of ballet classes that you might have done at this point, what you've done is create muscle memory, and that's partially stored in the subconscious mind. So whenever your subconscious mind gets into an audition and your mental state is totally different than the state that it learned these movements in, it loses its ability to access that muscle memory in the same way. So here are some things that you can actually start to do in order to change your state in auditions and change your ability to perform. I'm going to also pull this back into how to overcome nervousness and anxiety around auditions. Speaking also of mental state, whenever you get into the mental state of anxiety or nervousness, your mind is naturally going to pull up in the filing cabinet of your subconscious mind other memories that are connected to that same mental state of nervousness or anxiety. And so you might be having a lot more racing negative thoughts coming into your mind. You might have a lot of memories that just make you more fearful of getting out there because you remember that time where you totally messed up, and then you're starting to get even more overwhelmed. So here's what you can start to do. And this does not take any training, though it is something that a practice that you could really start to grow in, which is really learning to reframe auditions and what they mean to you. Reframing is extremely important each time you catch yourself thinking and feeling about dancing or auditioning or performing in a way that brings you into an unresourceful state, whether that be nervousness, fear, anxiety, anything like that. The first thing you can start to do is change the story you tell yourself about auditions. Have you been telling yourself that auditions are scary? That every time you go into auditions, you will compare yourself to everyone else that's there? Have you been telling yourself that every time a judge looks at you, they're judging you like in a negative way and they see every flaw that you have? Have you been telling yourself that auditions are really about not making any mistakes rather than having the opportunity to show what you can do and open yourself to new opportunities that can, catapult you into your next phase in your career? The story you tell yourself starts to it starts to create a default perspective that you have around auditions that triggers a certain mental state. So the first thing you can start to do is first notice, what is the mental state that you're experiencing whenever you dance your best? Do you feel grounded? Do you feel happy? Do you feel free? Do you feel empowered, confident, whatever it is, excited? Think back to a time when you were really dancing your best, and then start to ask yourself, what were you feeling? Boil down that feeling into a state, okay? And now that you know you want to feel confident, or you want to feel free or excited, whatever it is, choose that. And then start to think about auditions. And ask yourself, how is this audition an opportunity to feel confident? What reasons do I have to be confident in my auditions? How might this be an exciting opportunity to open new doors, to go dance at new places and meet new people and to grow in ways I never imagined as an artist and as a dancer? The next thing you can do is also start to visualize yourself walking into an audition and imagine what a new studio might look like. Try to make it really different than the one that you dance in. Imagine seeing all the new dancers around you. Imagine walking in and confidently standing in line to go get your number Imagine standing in the front and having your numbers seen and standing right in front of the judges table and seeing all of them look at you. And as you do that, imagine radiating, for instance, that confidence. Access that feeling in your body you have whenever you feel really confident. Notice that smile on your face and the bright colors of the room around you. Tap into that feeling until the feeling infiltrates that visualization. And that's something that you could just start to do to reorient your mind at a subconscious level to positively associate to auditions. Personally, a reframe that I really enjoy using around auditions is I like to normalize it as much as possible. I tell myself, this is just like a ballet class at its most fundamental level that I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And then the second layer I like to add on to this is I know ahead of time that most people in that room are going to be super nervous. And I also know that that nervousness is just it's coming from their chosen interpretation of the situation. And so I feel empowered to actually think differently and to relax and actually stand out because I feel so relaxed and because I know that I showed up there to show myself off and mistakes are okay. But if I focus so much on not making mistakes, then what am I really focusing on? Mistakes, 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 fear. Oh no. Are you really there to show not mistakes, or are you there to show what you can do? I much rather prefer to show what I can do when I audition, and that makes it more fun. My last tip that I have for you is to actually practice getting outside of your element before you go to audition. So if you can, go take a drop-in class at another studio in town if that's possible for you, and go and be around a new group of dancers, have a new teacher, and be in a new environment. And while you do that, practice being as grounded as possible and accessing that normal mental state that you experience when you're just taking regular class. This will help you to actually normalize change and normalize dancing the same in a different environment. So no matter if it's like a terrible class or you feel really weird or you feel nervous, great. Instead of freaking out and thinking that that class and putting yourself out there for the first time will dictate the way you perform in auditions, rather choose to believe that that class is just you getting the jitters out of the way. And you're glad you already put yourself through that. Now, that is what you can do on your own, but I actually want to invite those of you who are really looking to make this audition season your best, most prosperous one yet. If you are looking to get into a summer program that's really big and it scares you, but you really want to get in there, or you're looking to get your first company contract, or whatever you might be feeling, if you're dealing with a lot of nervousness and you're ready to cut that out and actually prove to yourself that you can dance amazingly well under pressure, then I would love to invite you into my individual mindset coaching services, because I can use a whole host of techniques with you to help you reframe your mental association to auditions on a subconscious level so that you're not only extremely excited and motivated to go put yourself out there, you're very confident, you know what strengths that you have to go show off. And by the way, if I were to ask you what your strengths are as a dancer, and one of the first things you say is, I have good work ethic, you need to work more on understanding your strengths. I'll tell you that. So I do want to invite you into this transformative experience. I've seen this work tremendously well for many clients I've had. Some have had the best audition seasons of their lives, getting 2 company offers. Some have had the best performances of their lives despite having extreme nervousness in the past and fear and anxiety around auditioning and performing that usually shut them down totally. I want to invite you into changing this story for yourself this audition season. So if that's you, reach out by just following the link below to my website, kirstenkemp.com. That's where you can go learn all about my mindset coaching services and also schedule a complimentary consultation to assess if coaching is right for you. So thank you again, okballet.com, which sells Zerly tights, for sponsoring this video. I'm very honored to be able to collaborate with you guys and also promote one of my favorite brands of tights to wear. Seriously, it's made all the difference for me as I've recovered from knee surgery 2 years ago, and I've dealt with a lot of inflammation in my joints and just, pain from standing around all day, either as a dancer or as a teacher. Can't recommend Zerly tights enough. Again, you can watch my review video if you'd like to learn more about what I think about Zerly tights and the unique features they have. Stay tuned for next week's video. Now that we've addressed nervousness and anxiety and how to start getting rid of that in your auditions, I am going to be making another video on how to actually stand out and the traits that are necessary for you to do that. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.